Yeah, I know.
He's out of high school before I was there.
Meeting will come to order, please. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting have been satisfied. Would you take a second, turn off all electronic equipment as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Johanna, call the roll, please.
Mayor Becker?
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Here?
Commissioner Blumberg?
I'm here.
At this time, would Brian Duffy and Perry Coker please come forward?
Thank you very much. My name's Brian Duffy, President of the
Hey, Brian. Why don't you come over?
Better here? I have a loud voice, I do project, but just wanted to say hello to everybody. This is Perry Coker, he's our secretary for FMBA Local 41. Every year we do a scholarship, and it's the O'Hara McCormick Scholarship. It's a really special time of year because we get to see the best in what Margate has to offer with our young students going off to college. We've been doing this for as long as I've been in the fire department for over 18 years. And when we first started, we would do one scholarship or two scholarships, $500. And with the generosity of our community, when we do our fund drive, and we're lucky enough to have so many community members give us money to our fund drive every year, that we've been able to increase our scholarship almost every year. So this year, we're giving out 6 $1,000 scholarships. I don't know if all the students are here, so I'm going to go down the names, and when you guys do, please come up, and if you're not here, well, you don't get your check. Now we'll mail the check. So there you go, you take that. First is Sam LaMonica. Sam is from Holy Spirit High School. He's going to be attending St. Joe's University, majoring in finance. Congratulations. Next is Haley Stack. She goes to Ocean City High School. She'll be attending TCNJ next year and studying criminology. We gave Haley's brother a scholarship. Was it last year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Madeline Canuso. Madeline's from Ocean City High School. She's going to be going to the national champion Villanova Wildcats and studying chemical engineering. Next is Avi Rabia from Ocean City High School. Avi's going to be studying, he's going to Stockton University, and he'll be studying biochemistry. It's pretty amazing. You look at the majors here, it's just like these guys are our future, and it's pretty awesome. The next is Sophia Ritzel from Ocean City. Is Sophia here? Oh, there she is. She'll be going to Tulane University studying engineering. Congratulations. Yeah, it's all right. And next is, finally, Andrew Gallagher from Holy Spirit High School. Andrew's going to be going to Drew University, and he's an undeclared major, which is the best major because you can figure it out later. All right. There's always that fire department option for you, so that's good. Again, we have some great students in Margate, and it will continue many years in the future. And guys, the only thing we can say is this is not for party money. This is book money. This is for your education. Keep it up, all right, and make us all proud. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Should I say?
I understand a couple of kids go to Ocean City High School, but a kid living in Ocean City get a Margate. Maybe the kid grew up here, moved over there. school choice, but it said she lives
Very excited.
That's never happened. All the years I've been, well,
there. It would all be kids from Margate. Yeah, it could be that. Kid moved over, grew up here in grade school.
yeah.
Like, or maybe it's some fireman who lives over in Ocean City. Whatever. It's their money. They can do whatever they want.
Right.
You got lost. Let's move on.
You ready?
Let's let them get out, give them another minute.
Okay.
Hi, Dan. Next, I'd like to call on Commissioner Blumberg. Maury?
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Can we say a few words?
Pardon me?
You'll say a few.
We'll break.
There you go.
We're good.
Didn't put no sunscreen on.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks
It's
for
more
coming.
than that,
Really appreciate it. This is a great day for me personally. It's a bittersweet day, but today it's my honor and privilege to recognize Yogi Hiltner and congratulate him on his retirement and thank him publicly for his many years of great service to our city. I consider myself one of the select few people that can call Yogi not only coach, but good friend. Margate will certainly miss Yogi 24/7 at the complex and his 5:30 starts. However, we are lucky and will have him on the main field leading the Hurricane charge for many years to come. Personally, I will miss the special attention and treatment. Yogi made sure that shortstop and second base were pristinely manicured and in great shape, the two positions where I played for many years. So I today officially announce my retirement from baseball as well. I have to tell you that no one man is more proud of that complex and the fields than Yogi. These are and always will be Yogi's yards. And I would like to again thank you everybody for coming. I got a letter this morning that was asked by a good friend of Yogi's that we read a letter into the record today. And Commissioner Amadeo is going to read a letter that was sent to us this morning by a gentleman, Dave Weiss, who many of you know. He's a childhood friend of Yogi's. He couldn't make it today. So, John, if you could read that into the record for us.
Thank you, Maury. I can attest that I am of the same age as Yogi because we went all through grade school and played Little League together. So I can really firmly attest when Yogi came up to bat, when we were the opposing team, everybody backed up, and when he hit the ball, he could crack a baseball. In fact, I remember in my 3 years in Little League, there was only few people that could hit a home run, one being Bobby Woods, who was a year older than us, was Yogi Hiltner, and I think, wasn't it David Weiss too? But David Weiss being one of the greatest shortstops ever. You weren't a shortstop, were you?
No.
Okay. One of the greatest
Don't go
shortstops
there.
to come out of Margate. But he addresses it, Dear Mayor and Commissioners. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend today's gathering to honor and celebrate Yogi Hiltner's retirement. So I write this note to express my thoughts and sentiments concerning my friend for over 50 years. Thoughts and sentiments which I know are shared by each and every one of you. As everyone knows, Yogi single-handedly assumed responsibility for running our Little League baseball program for nearly 5 decades. He did have a mentor, and I have to mention Creighton Knowles. I have to do that. for nearly 5 decades, touching literally thousands of our kids and creating a wonderful and everlasting memories. Yogi did everything for the program, from visiting the schools to encourage kids to play the game, organizing the game schedules, purchasing uniforms and equipment, recruiting umpires, and running and operating the snack bar, planning the postseason awards banquets, and overseeing the community-wide annual door-to-door fundraisers. Yogi did it all, proudly and successfully. He made game time exciting for the kids by meticulously maintaining and caring for the fields and making sure the scoreboard was functioning. The field conditions made the kids and their parents feel like someone cared for the program. The kids would hear Yogi loud and clear. If he caught them playing on the fields on game day after the lines were set and the infield and pitchers' mounds were smoothed over, I need not say any more what happened from there. All-Star season cannot go unmentioned, as this was the highlight of each year for the league and the players. Yogi made sure that Margate fielded an all-star team that was prepared. He spent countless hours mentoring the kids on the correct way to hit and compete. And finally, there is, of course, Yogi's legendary Festival of Lights on Jerome Avenue, universally loved by everyone and making us proud to be Margatians. Yogi gave his heart and soul to so many and is eminently worthy of recognition in what he is receiving today. I ask that each and every one of you please join me in expressing our deepest gratitude to a man, Yogi Hiltner, who should go down in history of our city as one who made a distinct and positive difference to all of us. We wish him a long and well-deserved retirement. Sincerely, Dave Weiss. Congratulations.
Mike would like to, so Mike is going to come up and say a few words.
I'm too old to come up.
Yogi is going to come up. We have a proclamation that we would like to read into the record.
Yogi and I go back probably further than anybody else, only because I'm probably the oldest one here, but you know, it's okay. We've been through a lot together, ups and downs, and we appreciate, Yogi, all that you do and all that you've done for us, and stay close. And if you answer the following question correctly, we'll let you go. Who made the best play at third base in the history of Little League?
Robbie Becker.
Hey, right answer.
Very, very funny. Okay.
Without doubt.
Special thanks to Yogi's immediate family that made the trip today. Tara is here, I see. Ellen is here. And Brother Tom is out here in the audience. So thank you guys for coming. And now I'd like to read into the record this proclamation that we put together for Yogi. And it reads as follows. Whereas Robert Yogi Hiltner has been a loyal and dedicated employee in public works since 1992. Whereas Yogi was a significant contributor to Margate's programs. Whereas Yogi has dedicated most of his entire life to teaching, mentoring, and caring for the young athletes in Margate City. And whereas Yogi started his Margate career coaching over 45 years ago under the tutelage of the legendary great coach Creighton Knowles, helping lead the Twin Glass dynasty to many Little League titles. And whereas Yogi has provided the inspiration and guidance for an unprecedented amount of Margate Little Leaguers to go on to compete in Division I college baseball. And whereas Yogi has spearheaded, saved, and helped continue the important At the Top basketball camp in Margate City, providing first-class basketball clinics for area youth. And whereas Yogi, with his bat, arm, and coaching skills, has led the Margate Hurricanes to an unprecedented 50 Atlantic County championships. Whereas Yogi, with his tenacity, drive, and dedication to Margate City, led the remarkable renovations of the Jerome Avenue Recreation Complex. And whereas Yogi has spent hundreds of hours, both personal and work time, repairing Christmas lights in order to brighten up our cities and our lives. And whereas Yogi has made sure our kids have the best uniforms apparel, and fields on which to play. Whereas Yogi, throughout the county, is known as Margate Baseball, a great family man, husband, father, and grandpa. Now and therefore be it proclaimed by the City of Margate Board of Commissioners that upon the occasion of his retirement, we in Margate will be forever grateful for his years of dedicated service to the kids in the community. So let us declare today, June 7th, 2018, Yogi Hiltner Day in the City of Margate. Yes, please. Before you say a few words, before Yogi says a few words, we have one gift. The greatest, most of us in this room that play ball know that Yogi is a New York Yankee fan. The greatest, arguably the greatest home run hitter of all time was not Babe Ruth, who we have a picture here of today for Yogi, but in my opinion, Yogi Hiltner. And so we wanted to give Yogi an autographed picture of Babe Ruth for his wall.
I'd like to say a few things. One, Dave White's, I never gave up a home run in Little League or in Senior League baseball, except to Dave White's, the last game of the year, but the center field fence was about 4 feet high, the wind was blowing out, and it hit the back of the fence going over. That's one. There's a few people here that I want to recognize. I get sentimental. There's some past presidents here. Steve Persky, the Honorable. Don LaMonica, past president. Current president, Tom Holton. I would not have been able to do some of the things I do without the tremendous help from the city, from Bill Ross's days all the way till the current. Number one, my supervisor for 20 of the 26 years, Frank Richetti, who always was there whenever I needed him. Actually, the current commission and the past commissions were tremendous. Every time I needed something, it was great. Mayor Becker and Commissioner Blumberg and Commissioner Dan Campbell in the back made some improvements about 10 years ago. Some people complained about the expense, but look, I know being out there, nothing was done to those fields for 40 years, hardly anything. And then they did that project, which was needed terribly, and they won't need another project for another 20 or 30 because it was built well and it was well designed. I have some field workers here, past field workers. Sam LaMonica, who got his scholarship today, but his biggest honor is being a field worker. Ryan Fader is a current worker out there who does a great job. Willie Jacobini Sr., his son, who's the next worker. He's around here. Willie's around here. I have some great past players and coaches. Steve Marshall is one of the greatest players ever. Ted Corey, who is instrumental in the county league. Al Sacco of the famous Sacco conglomerate is back there. My brother Tom Hiltner, who for 20 years did so much for the city and helped me in getting, with the commission, getting everything done out there. My lovely wife, for putting up with all the time that I spent out there, especially in the first 20 years. And my daughter, Tara, who actually was a field worker. I think she lasted a week. One day, I was a little too tough. Scott Stetzer, coached with me on the firemen. I don't know if I have any other past coaches. T. Gallagher. T. Gallagher, in the last 15 years, has been so instrumental in our program and at the field in coordinating me with the city and a coach in the program. And his son Drew, who I coached also, he just got a $1,000 scholarship. And again, this is probably a bigger honor to your name. So I think I covered everybody. Chief Wolfson made sure at nighttime that that's an open complex, you know, and there can be a lot of damage done out there. But I would stay in contact with him a couple times a year, and he's very good with helping. Chief Adams of the fire department, we had to call them quite a few times. We had some problems. So it was a city involvement, you know, that sort of brought this whole complex together. And I really appreciate everything that everybody did. Jimmy Galantino, who helped me with some building things in the very beginning of the year, some building inspection. So it's been a total team effort. I'm sorry if I missed anybody, but I get a little nervous up here. So
You did great.
Maury was a great player. He was a great fielder. He was the worst bunter I ever saw in our program. How could he ever hit one fair? And he was the leadoff hitter, second hitter, and you're supposed to be able to bunt, and he just couldn't do it.
I still can't.
So again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Joe, thanks.
Thank you again, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it.
No, we're going on.
Showtime.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to call up Dave Miller and Entourage for our annual GIF report.
We forgot Dave Miller. Third base. Dave Miller, third base.
You know, the funniest story about Yogi is he still doesn't have any socks on. We were coaching the district all-star game, the finals, and they were going to forfeit the game because he had flip-flops on. And I forget what happened. What happened there? I forget. You stuck me in the dugout for like two innings first. Yeah. But anyway, thank you for having me. This is Paul Miola is with me, and he's going to do the 3-year presentation for your renewal, review some facts. I just want to go over some local things that have come up in the last year or so. The GIF and MEL have put in a cyber liability program to protect the city's interest in case of cyber threats. I think we're working with Fred Byrne on that a lot to make sure we're in compliance. I have some things here if you want to take a quick look at them. And the important thing about this program is
Thank you.
you have a $10,000 deductible if there's a claim, okay? But there's ways to drop that deductible if we do some risk management and mitigation. And there's a tier 1 where you can get a reimbursement of that deductible if there's a claim from $10,000 down to $5,000, and then there's a tier 2, which you can get it reduced to a $2,500 deductible or a $7,500 reimbursement. And they're not too hard. We have to fill out the forms, and we can do that within the next month or so, work with Fred. And as you can see, tier 1, we have to go through. We just have to have backup practices, which I'm sure you have, your up-to-date patch programs with your Microsoft programs, et cetera, your defensive software, your antivirus. do some training with the staff, and have an incident report response plan in case there is an attack. So that's a pretty simple thing to bring it down to a $5,000 right away. Tier 2, they want to make sure no one has access to the server. You have a controlled access, so you have a locked room. And you have access privileges for the type of password and people that can be administered to that. Only certain people can be able to act as administrator. Technology support and policies that the city should go through and make sure that everything's up to date. To protect the information with a password strength, so I don't know how often you change your passwords, but to be in Tier 2, they're going to ask you to change your passwords periodically, probably every 30 to 60 days, right? Yeah, yeah.
Damn, I can't remember.
So that's something that you can work on. The first one I think we can achieve in quick fashion. The other thing I'd like to go over is your close to your heart, your POL, EPL policy, which covers the public officials and EPL claims. And every couple of years you have to update those policies. The state goes through the MEL, which is the big organization, will update those policies and have the cities adopt them so they're protected and the policy is protected. Now some of the things your labor attorney then goes through, or your solicitor can go through and check off that you're adhering to these. You have always adhered to these in the past. We just have a couple of changes that they're going to make and we have to submit it in short order. So some of the highlights of that is, which I saw, is the social media in your employee manual. If you haven't addressed that yet, they want you to address that anything at work is work, anything that's personal is personal. Okay, if they use personal information at work, then it is subject to OPRA. So I think the employees should understand that, and it'll be part of the manual. Hopefully you can adopt that. If they promote anything within the city's behalf on social media, they should have your approval, which I think is done anyway. If you're doing a function, if you're doing something on the beach, if you're doing an affair, make sure you approve that before it goes up to social media. The other thing, oddly enough, which I was going with Paul, is there's a federal guidelines that they want you to put in for breastfeeding on the job. Okay, so that's just standards that is put in for the state and federal governments, and that's a pretty easy thing to adopt. That. Lastly, employee training, the management training, which we have to do, the harassment training, and everybody has to view the video and either view the video or acknowledge that they had a chance to view that video. Are there any questions you have of those two things before he does your?
Anybody? Mike, John? We're good.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Paul. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a handout here for Mayor and Commissioners, if you'd help me, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. My name's Paul Miola. I'm the Executive Director of the Atlantic County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. First, want to say I was a little disappointed. I thought all the people that were here earlier were here to hear me talk about insurance, but obviously that wasn't the case. The second thing is I noticed that one of your scholarship recipients is going to Villanova. When I started at Villanova, the tuition was $1,600 a year. I think it's a little bit more than that today. So I was, yeah, $1,600.
Were you there with Nick Kashan?
I was a year before him. Absolutely, yeah. So I just celebrated my 50-year high school reunion over the past weekend, so that gives you a little indication of where I'm at. Anyway, you have a handout in front of you. I just want to talk to you a little bit about your joint insurance fund, tell you what's going on, remind you of the GIF's value, and understand some of the resources that are available to you. If you look at page 3, we talk about the success of the joint insurance fund. We say that we are the most successful example of interlocal cooperation in the history of the state of New Jersey. We are a jointure of municipalities in Atlantic and Cape May counties. We provide affordable coverage, superior programs, and most importantly, financial stability and strength. As a matter of fact, these GIFs are interconnected on a statewide basis, and it's estimated that we have saved the local taxpayers over $1 billion since we formed back in 1987. Looking at page 4, you can look at the local success of the Atlantic JIF. We have a very stable 31-year history. We were formed in 1987. We're sitting on $28 million in current surplus with about $50 million in cash. That's very important because you want to know that we've got the financial resources to back you up should you have a claim. Page 5 talks about the fact that the JIF is not a profit-making organization. Every penny that is not spent on claims and operations is returned to the members. And to date, we've returned almost $34 million in dividends to our members. This is money that would have been insurance company profits had we been an insurance company. This past year, we returned $3 million, and you can see that Margate has received $227,000, including $98,000 that was returned just this past year, and I'll show you a little bit of history on that in a moment. If you turn to page 6, page 6 talks about loss funding. What is loss funding? That's the amount of money that the actuary says we have to put in our budget to pay claims. Well, you'll notice over 2015, 16, and 17, we've had some pretty good reductions in the amount of money we have to put in the budget to pay claims, and that's because the members are practicing safety and risk management. You know, safe lifting, managing vendors, making sure we get certificates of insurance so that we can do a better job of defending you on claims. This past year we had a slight increase in that because we raised the amount of money we're keeping in-house to pay claims. But overall, our budget still went down 3.2%, even with that increase in loss funding. If you take a look at page 7, that's your assessment history. I don't know what in your budget has gone down over the past several years. I'm sure your health insurance hasn't dropped, but you can see that your JIF assessment has dropped over $100,000 over the past several years. If you look at page 8, your dividends have started to increase pretty dramatically. Your dividends have increased from $9,700 to $16,000 to $60,000 to $98,000 in dividends paid to Margate this past year. And you use that as an offset to your premiums, or you can take it as a check, or you can put it away for future uses. Maybe you have an emergency appropriation, you can keep some of that money with the joint insurance fund. And then page 9 talks about a loss ratio. That's the ratio of money that you put in the budget to pay claims and the claims dollars that you've incurred. So you can see 4 out of 6 years has been a little bit of a fever over there, and yet you can see your dividends still increase. And why does that happen? Because you're in a jointure. It's an all for one, one for all. You may see some slight increases in your premiums over time when your loss ratio is that way for several years in a row. But because you're in with a group who's doing very well, we're like a piston, you know. 1 year you're up, 1 year you're down, but we smooth it out over time. So you're never going to see a jack up in your rates over time. And that's what makes us so cost effective on page 10. Our overhead, we only spend about 11 cents on the dollar for all the operations of the joint insurance fund. We control medical costs by using physicians that are dedicated to handling worker injuries. We manage our litigation using local defense attorneys who know the local bar and the local venue. And we have very consistent member programs where all the members are pulling the rope in the same direction when it comes to safety and wellness, claims management, and risk management. And page 11 talks about one of the most important things I think about the joint insurance fund, and that's the local control. The members are very actively involved in the joint insurance fund, making policy-making decisions, as you do here as mayor and commissioners. We hold monthly peer meetings where your fund commissioner meets with other people that are like-minded. It provides built-in networking opportunities to share information about things that you're doing, allows for collaboration, and most importantly, all the members of the JIF have the same commitment to safety and risk management. That's the thing we ask for the most. It's not whether did you have a claim last year, but are you practicing safety and risk management. You'll see on page 12 the neighbors who are in this joint insurance fund with you. I'm not going to read that list, don't worry, but I think it's a note for you to take a look at that. And then I talk about page 13. Risk management starts right here in this room. It starts with mayor and commissioners setting the tone for safety and for risk management, and that filters down to your risk management consultant, your staff, and your administration. Page 14 talks about your risk management team. Dan Adams is your safety coordinator. He's the one that coordinates all safety efforts within the city of Margate and coordinates with the joint insurance fund safety professionals. He acts as a liaison with the safety director. He chairs your safety committee, he coordinates your safety training, and he makes sure that the safety information gets distributed throughout the city. Your claims coordinator also, Dan Adams, makes sure that if somebody gets hurt on the job, that those reports get turned in right away, that that employee gets to see a doctor quickly and gets the benefits and the services that he or she requires. And then Lisa McLaughlin is your fund commissioner. She's your representative to the Joint Insurance Fund. She serves on boards and commissions. She's a past chair of the Joint Insurance Fund, and she basically manages and monitors your participation in the JIF. And finally, Dave Miller. He used to be your insurance agent, but now he's under contract with Margate to look out for your interests. He's an insurance professional. He knows what's going on locally. He reads the local paper. He participates in community activities, and he's in the best position to support you and help you as you're managing your own risks. Page 15, I just talked about some of the key areas that Dave did touch on. It's the employment practices liability and public officials liability. It's the cyber liability, and it's our wellness programs. I'm just going to touch on those for a second. Page 16 talks about the employment practices liability, public official liability risk management plan. Every other year we ask you to update your personnel policies and procedures. We have attorneys, labor attorneys review the policies to make sure that they meet current statutory requirements and case law. We sent those out on May 2nd. By October 1st, we ask that you have your program updated so that you can maintain lower deductibles and copays. We've also been conducting managerial and supervisory training that's required by the courts. We do that for you. We also do a separate training for your police command staff. And finally, and Dave works with you on this, there's a video that we provided so that you can offer training, not required, but offer training to all of your other employees. The Mel Cyber Risk Management Program that Dave went over with you is highlighted on page 17. I'm not going to go into detail on that since Dave already did, but I think that you'll find that you'll be able to lower your deductible and copay quite easily and protect yourself against any intrusions or cyber attacks at the same time. Finally, I want to talk about the JIF Wellness Program. We started this program a couple of years ago, and you're wondering, well, what the heck? You folks don't do health benefits. Why are you doing a wellness program? Well, healthy employees, we've learned from studies, are less likely to get hurt on the job, and they're likely to recover more quickly. We have a JIF Wellness Director. She makes personal visits to all the member towns and helps you to establish your wellness committees, your wellness programs. She gives out a great monthly newsletter that's shared with your city, and also, you know, that newsletter gives monthly tips and recipes and so on. I want to give you proof about how wellness works. Look at page 19. Here are two municipal workers, same age. They're both 53 years old, same injury. They both had a left rotator cuff tear. The one on the left was obese and a smoker. His injury cost $105,000, was out of work for 20 weeks. A healthy individual, a non-smoker, was only out of work for 8 weeks with a total cost of $61,634. There are many, many examples of this, and this is why we're promoting the wellness program, and this is why I want to emphasize it this afternoon. Please support your wellness program here in town. Yeah, it's great for your health insurance program. Believe me, I know that. Smoking cessation, managing obesity, things of that nature. But more importantly, we have seen a direct impact on workers' compensation claims. And workers' compensation takes up about 70% of our loss costs in the JIF. So what we're trying to do is lower your premiums over time, and this can really help you to do that. So on page 21, I just talked about some of our upcoming programs. We've seen some pretty nasty land use claims around the state coming out of planning and zoning boards. We're going to be doing some training on that this coming year. And the technology risk management services, in addition to the work that we've already done, we're going to be, we just did an RFP so that we can provide online training to your employees, assess your network vulnerabilities, and also to develop standard policies and procedures for you. So I want to thank you very much for having me here this afternoon. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Marty, John? I'm good. I'm good too, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And very happy with the partnership between you and Dave and the city of Margate. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Looking forward to having you renew with us. And there's some good information in the back when you have a chance to take a look at it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Come on back, Rich. At this point, we will go to department head reports, and Roger, why don't we start with you today?
Thank you, Mayor. All is fine and well in the Planning and Zoning Department. Just tonight you have an ordinance in front of you for the flood hazard area. Just one minor change, the date of the map should be 2018, not 2019. Just want to put on record, but minor change. No further comment.
Thank you. Jim?
Trying to keep the job sites cleaned up. You see a lot of grass has been finally cut on a lot of lots. Steve Schwartz made a transition over to the police department Monday. Code enforcement calls are now being taken by the 822-4310. And if you need to get a hold of that, just call that number. And we'd had a coastal coalition meeting today for mandatory PPI, which is something that we're trying to do. A lot of different communities are out there, all joined in together for the extra points for the CRS. Tom Quirk did a great job, and it's a good promotion. It's a good public service, and they do utilize our website, and looking forward to seeing those guys continue that. I have nothing further.
I have a question for him.
Maury has a question.
Jim, can you remind us, wasn't there a date for dumpsters to be off the streets? Do we have a date for dumpsters?
Friday Memorial Day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think I remember him talking about it. But so, Friday,
Before
so there should be no more dumpsters on the streets anywhere.
We have basically a task force out there.
Okay. All right, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jim. Frank?
We've been very busy on the beach. The beach maintenance has grown tremendously now that the Dune project is still an ongoing project, but there's a lot of completed parts of our beach. But we've been able to keep up with it. The sand is blowing onto the pedestrian walkways and stuff like that, but we're able to keep up with it every day. We also were approached by this gentleman, and he was looking at the fountains in the parkway, and he would like to donate LED lighting for all our fountains. He's a local guy in Margate, and I'm just putting that request out there.
Very nice.
If you would like me to pursue it, I can give the gentleman a call and
Okay.
tell him to meet with us and
please
go
do.
through it.
Let us know how that progresses, Frank, okay?
Definitely. That's all I have.
Okay. Scott?
Mayor and Commissioners, number of things we have tonight, an introduction of ordinance 13-2008, which will regulate wireless communication facilities and their establishments in the public rights of way and where permitted by easement. We put a lot of effort in on that. I think we want to go forward and introduce it tonight. And the city administrators made a recommendation perhaps for a diagram so we know what some of the equipment will actually look like, although we do have the dimensions. I do see the attorney is here for the communications company that's been pushing to expand or increase their coverage, and perhaps he'll have a few comments for us at a later point. We certainly, Roger and I, put time into this. We certainly endorse it, and we'd like to see that ordinance get introduced tonight. With regard to the other ordinances, they're up for public adoption. If you have any questions, fine. They've been introduced at the last meeting. We also have June 15th, a very important meeting for Margate on our ongoing efforts to try to dredge in the 3 lagoons and on Long Beach thoroughfare. It's a joint application with the DEP and the Army Corps in Trenton, the DEP headquarters. We do have our plans, which are detail exactly where it is that we seek to dredge, and also as you're aware, and I'll let the public know, our game plan is to put the dredge material at Shelter Island, which is an island that was dredged out in the 20s that we own jointly with the city of Ventnor. It has a capacity of over 350,000 cubic yards. We are seeking a permit for 5 locations, which would be less than 200,000 cubic yards. So we are moving forward. It's a very difficult process for dredging, but we are moving forward on it. Any questions of me?
Anybody? Question? Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
Dan?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I just want to say we're in constant preparation for the upcoming season in both the fire department and the beach patrol. I've been in constant communication with Chief Smallwood regarding some of the factors, and he just asked for one thing maybe to be portrayed or laid out to the public, and that is they had numerous times that they had to get people off of the pipe structures. And they just want to remind the public that it's unsafe to climb on them and to walk on them, and to please refrain from doing so, because that activity takes the lifeguards away from doing the job that they're out there to do. So whatever we can do in the public to help that would be great. One other thing, and it's that time of year, I know everybody's getting their grills out that may not have used them in a while, and we need to pay close attention to that for a safety aspect. Our critters and our different insects like to hibernate and hang out in them. So please make sure you clean them properly. Make sure all your connections are proper. Make sure you maintain at least a 48-inch clearance around any combustible materials when operating your grills. And just be safe. Make sure you clean them after use to assure that the grease in that doesn't build up. I can tell you we have approximately 8 to 10 barbecue grill fires every season, and they can be catastrophic. We've been very lucky that we've been able to contain them to a small area, but please, any effort you can do to make things better would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Lisa?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to follow up with Paul Miola and our renewal for the JIF. The renewal takes effect January of 2019, and it's for a period of 3 years. I have a resolution that I forwarded it to Johanna and to Rich, and it will be placed on the next agenda for your approval. Second, I just want to congratulate Yogi. I know he's gone, but I hope that the lights continue to shine in his honor, because he did a phenomenal job over the years. And the last thing I want to two other things. Rich and I met with our auditors this morning for the exit conference for the 2017 audit. I have a draft here that I'm going to be reviewing tomorrow, and I'll be getting back to the auditor with any comments or corrections that I have. And they will be here to present it on June 21st. June 21st, the audit, okay? But you know what, once I get through it and review it, we'll send you a copy for your review and discuss it further. And lastly, we awarded our vending license to Jack and Jill, Paul Vanderine, and the balance of his bid was due in April, and it's still outstanding. I had sent him a bill for the balance, and I followed up with a phone call the other day, and there's an issue that needs to be resolved, because what he told me, he was under the impression that someone from the city was going to get back to him to work out an agreement. But as of yet, it's still outstanding. The season has begun. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is that the money is due to the city, and it still has not yet been collected.
Lisa and I have talked. I sent an email to the solicitor this week. I asked the solicitor to try to make contact with him. I'm not going to make a legal recommendation to you. What I'm going to ask the solicitor to make a legal recommendation to you is ASAP. From my perspective, administratively, he's working without paying what he was contracted to pay. He bid on this contract. He bid in January, I think it was, way ahead of time. He's always had to pay the second portion of his payment in April. He's had a dispute with the city since last year. He knew, we've talked about it here, and we made a decision here that we weren't going to move forward. The solicitor tried to negotiate with him. He didn't want to accept that. He bid anyway on this contract, fully knowing and knowledge that he had concerns about whatever his revenue was or wasn't last year. I think we should consider declaring him in default if we don't get the money in the next 48 hours.
I agree.
I agree 100%. There's absolutely nothing he's waiting from us. We've advised him. We are not giving him a discount. We're not refunding money from last year. That has been put to him in writing. It has been put to him verbally. It has been put to him at a commission meeting. I remember standing here.
And
So,
it was decided here also in a
absolutely.
public meeting.
So he owes the money. And if he hasn't paid the money, he's in default. Now, I can send him a letter tomorrow and say, you are in default. cease operations on our beach, if we want to go that hard, or
I think-
whatever we want.
I think you should be the commission should consider instructing the attorney to send such a letter with a period of time, whatever you decide is that period of time. And after that time, when you send the certified letter, the police should throw them off the beach.
I agree.
Okay.
Agreed. Marty.
We'll make a decision on that.
Okay. All good.
Whatever time,
All good.
instruct them with whatever time you.
You okay with that?
I'm good, you're instructing me to do it, correct?
Yes.
That's
Bid
correct.
it?
Right away.
Want to rebid it?
Pay in 1 week,
Want to
right?
wait till later?
Lisa's gonna tell me what he owes. You mean the figure?
$34,000, yeah, it's a balance.
There it is, 34,000.
Anything else, Lisa?
Well,
You done?
you know, the follow-up question to that is, what if, and how do, I mean, we're in the season already. We go to bid again and
We have no choice.
award another contract, so, I'd like the authorization as well, if we're gonna authorize what you've already instructed to the attorney to do, is to allow us to go ahead and advertise to rebid. Obviously, we'll bring that bid back to you if we won't award anything, but I'd like to be able to get that done ASAP.
Well, you'd bid, the bid to be after our next meeting, which is the 21st, right?
We wouldn't be able to award to at least the 21st, which is fine, but we need to advertise if we're gonna do that. So we need an understanding or an authorization to
Before the
advertise.
July week.
You good?
Right.
Yes.
Marty, you good?
Yes.
So moved. Move on.
All right.
Okay. Chief,
All's well in the police department.
Rich,
I've said enough tonight, thank you.
John,
I'm good, Mayor.
Marty,
All good, buddy?
I'm good too. At this point, we'll open,
Johanna.
Johanna's here. Whoever's behind me, do you have anything, Johanna?
We're working on liquor licenses, license renewals at this time. There are a few that are outstanding with different sections of this. We're hoping to get everything in for the next meeting. Otherwise, there may be a need for a special meeting if they don't have it in. It's up to the commission to decide at that time whether we will have any leniency with time. But the liquor licenses expire July 1st for everyone.
Cool. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. John. Okay. At this point, we'll open for public comment. You have 3 minutes. You may discuss anything that we've talked about up here. If you have something else that you want to talk about, it would be at the beginning of the next meeting. Is there any public comment?
Sewell, 22 West Drive. Mayor, following up on the Dunes remarks by Frank and our fire chief about the Dunes, a brief trip on the Wayback Machine is in order. Last meeting, Mayor, you were portraying yourself as the anti-Dune mayor to your geriatric constituency. It appears both you and they suffer from acute amnesia. Let me refresh your cognitively impaired recollection. Mayor, because you lack the intestinal fortitude to take on Tawby and her pro-Dune lunacy, your Balabustaphobia put you in a catatonic state of perpetual procrastination, hesitation, and vacillation. Thankfully, Mother Blumberg, in her infinite wisdom, saw fit to send Maury to the Goyisha Gymnasium, where he acquired faith in the Hail Mary Pass. And thus it was, an 11th hour, 59th minute adult intervention transpired in the form of a referendum petition. One of Maury's minions gathering signatures, Mayor, was your arch nemesis, the consummate Balabusta, Sharon. She was running around like an Empire chicken with her head cut off. So I took pity on her and showed her how it's done in Philadelphia with an advanced man. And so it came to be, Mayor, that at 4:59 p.m., the requisite signatures were duly proffered to the city clerk. But alas, Mayor, it turned out to be too little, too late, despite over $250,000 squandered of taxpayer money. Had the anti-dune effort existed from the get-go, then it could have been resolved politically and cost-free in Trenton. But like the film Groundhog Day, this trio repeats the same brain-dead mistakes. Last meeting, residents vociferously reported beaches at high tide were nearly non-existent. How would you correct this nightmare, Mayor? The solution is simple.
15 seconds.
By whose clock, Mayor?
Mine, John.
You want me to continue this diatribe next week?
John, I have no control over that.
I realize that, Mayor. Where's that clock at? I think that's bogus. That's one of those
John,
Chinese
I have
discount
good news,
watches.
John, your time's up.
Well, we'll continue this next week, Mayor.
You can come back at the next meeting. You can finish it. Afterwards.
Oh, we've got more important matters to deal with. A Supreme Court suit.
John, your time is up.
Bye,
Thank
John.
you.
We'll be back.
Sure.
I can hardly wait, John. Next, please.
I wasn't sure if this was appropriate.
Your name and address, please.
Marty Mantell, 126B, North Jefferson, Margate City. Okay, it's in regard to the dunes. First, let me say, during the winter I came by and I was quite depressed. However, I have changed my attitude. I've been to the beach in the mornings and the evenings, and I am a advocate now, except I do want to bring one thing to your attention. We went to the beach this past Saturday, that beautiful Saturday, and my wife, who is not as able as I am, had to hold on. This is Jefferson Avenue entrance, which is a problem. Okay, it hasn't been completed, but let me not get ahead of myself. So she had to hold on to my boogie cart going up and coming down because there were no mats, there were no railings at the Jefferson Avenue entrance. I was told that work was ending as of May 30th and it would be continued after Labor Day. I see work being done every day past May 30th at several locations. Why should residents who use Jefferson and Adams be inconvenienced and dealing with a matter of safety issue every time they use the beach? Can one of our elected officials give a reasonable answer regarding the issues just described, meaning when the Jefferson Avenue entrance will have railings and a mat, which they do not have now? Thank you.
Will they finish at this?
No, they're not finished.
Are they, but will they, hold on a second, Mr. Mando. Part of their plan to finish Jefferson Avenue before they leave for the summer.
No, they're not going to finish it.
So it will be in the fall, Mr. Mando.
But at least a blue mat.
You will have.
We'll take care of that.
There are no mats. I understand the railing takes
Mr.
work.
Mantell,
Right.
every street on our beaches will have a Moby mat after they leave, which should be within
They're
a week and a half or
they're
2
pulling
weeks.
off tomorrow at noon. Their deadline was June 28th. They finished 2 weeks ahead of schedule, and they'll resume work September 15th.
Okay.
Okay, I was just curious.
May 30th wasn't the date.
May
The date
30th
was
was-
not
The date
correct.
was always
Okay.
June 28th to September 15th, but they finished ahead of schedule. And the reason why you're not finished down there, they have a stockpile of material that's needed on the north end. A lot of extra sand is where you're at, so they didn't want to do the work twice. So.
Okay.
And one of the things the city has implemented, there'll be a program we're going to do a trial run this summer. We rented a 6-passenger ATV that if individuals, especially handicapped, or any individuals that have difficulty going over the crossovers, you would be able to call Beach Patrol headquarters. We're going to have someone on the phones from 10 to the rest of the day, 10 a.m., and you can schedule a pickup and a drop-off for the days you want to go to the beach.
Well, we have our alternative set up. We just go a block over to Madison,
Right.
which everything
But
is
it is
complete.
available if you need it.
And again, I want to, I guess, compliment the beaches in the morning and the evening, if you see them, or, I don't know if they're as pristine as they were. However, they are still quite magnificent in terms of them stretching the beaches out.
Mr.
Thank
Mantell,
you.
you can send your compliments to Mr. Ricchetti, who's in charge of Public Works.
Well-
They do a great job on our beaches.
Well, when the Jefferson railings are in, then you'll get my compliments fully, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Dr. Don Kratchman, 7603 Atlantic Avenue, Margate City. Am I to understand that Moby mats are going to be extended over the dune to the other side of the beach?
Lead
No.
to the crossover?
No, he's on saying on it.
No,
the-
not
over
from the
crossover
bulkhead to the
the
dune,
No.
over the dune.
No.
So are we in a different compliance than Longport, which does have Moby mats over the dune on every block?
We are, different program. Longport requested those Moby mats, and I think they regret that decision.
They're slippery on an incline.
Is the Public Works Department going to put the coarse sand or coarse rock sand on the crossovers to the dunes every day, every weekend? How is that going to happen?
We will maintain those crossovers the best we can. There is the gravel underneath the sand. But like, for us to keep on supplying it with gravel, I don't believe that the Army Corps is done yet with that.
Well, the I-5 ramps on the crossovers are a finished product. Wherever you see post and rail fencing, and you see handicap accesses, which are 4, those are finished. When you see rails on both sides.
Yes.
The sand through the winter and through the last 2 months with the bad weather in March and April has blown on to the I-5 material. When the grass seats and grows, it's a hybrid grass. I went through all this today with the Army Corps. It's to grow, it's not like Atlantic City and Ventnor where it gets up 5-6 foot. This grass is designed to go 16 to 18 inches in height, and it's supposed to catch, once it matures, which takes about a year, year and a half, it's to catch in its blades the sand, and it builds the dune. That's how it works. So that'll prevent what we see now. So at some point, we'll get down to the basic I-5 material that is, it's probably a foot, foot and a half thick. It's whatever the width is. I think on a standard crossover, it's 9 foot.
Yeah.
And the handicaps are a little bit larger. And then we have our access ramps, which you have one down by where you live, Doctor. So right now, we're inundated with sand on top of our crossovers, which these guys have worked constantly to try and catch up. And we're just hoping that we can get to a point that we can stabilize everything and keep everything clean and everything work. The other thing you're going to have to understand is once they're finished on the north side where you live, the grade is going to come up roughly 2.5 foot. So when you come down on the other side, on the beach side, the water side of your bulkhead down the steps, you're going to be probably 2.5 foot higher with sand. So your steepness going up your ramp isn't going to be, the steepness is there, but you're going to be at a higher level approaching that crossover.
Are there any provisions for this year, since it will take a year or two until those things happen? Are there any provisions for this
Dr.
year?
Clark, it's a work in progress. There's a lot of unknowns. It's new for us. We will do our very best to keep every beach open, and we will, service it on an ongoing basis. And I think at the end of the summer, most residents will be happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? a motion. No, next meeting. It's a motion to close public
So
comment.
moved.
Second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
We will take a short break and we will begin our public meeting.